California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. We have a lot to talk about today, as the Dodgers are one loss away from getting eliminated, but they survived last night as they crushed the Braves 11-2. Can they keep it up going into Saturday? And the Lakers and Clippers kind of took a little bit of a tumble against the Golden State Warriors in their season openers, but it wasn't too bad. Let's just give those two time, as the two will be back this weekend. And the Chargers got humiliated against the Ravens on the road, but they have their bye week, so that's not too bad. And the Rams steamrolled the Giants, but that was to be expected. Like I said, they just needed to show up, and they would have gotten. And then San Diego State is still undefeated as they survived against San Jose State. Can they keep up this undefeated streak against Air Force? All that and more here on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon. It is Friday, and I am happy to be delivering you your fix of some Southern California sports action. Without any further delay, let's get on into that Southern California goodness. By the way, this show is also on Twitter Spaces as well. You could just go to my account at Teran Rodriguez 1, and then you can hear me doing my thing on Twitter and whatnot. I'm still trying to figure out how to do Twitter Spaces, so there's that. But before we get on into the Southern California sports action, we have some bills to pay / reads to look at. The first sponsor for IE Sports Radio is the Southern California Warriors. The Warriors unfortunately dropped a tough one to the Inland Empire Kings, which really grinds my gears, which is unfortunate because I wanted the SoCal Warriors to avenge that loss, but it's unfortunate that they didn't. The Warriors are 4-4 on the season. They have 2 games left. Here's hoping they can turn it around and finish on a strong note, because SoCal Warriors are from Southern California, and I saw them and they worked really hard, and I hope nothing but the best for Coach Oki and his team this weekend, as they'll look to try to win this weekend as they play the Riverside Disciples at home in their home finale on Saturday. And it's going to be at Fallbrook High School, and the game time, I believe, is at 6 p.m., but just get there at like 5 p.m. or 4 p.m. just so you can avoid traffic. That's what I normally do when it came to being or going to these games, so there's that. Anyway, the world of semi-pro sports is unlike any other sports organization. Players pay to play in hopes of so many different outcomes, whether it's playing to get filmed to try out for professional teams, big-time colleges, or just playing to stay in shape. No matter what, all semi-pro players have one thing in common, and that's playing for the love of the game. The SoCal Warriors have been on a quest to earn titles and give players second chances since 2017. Whether you're in Southern California or anywhere in the world, give semi-pro sports a chance if you love your sport. You may get that second chance you have been waiting for as an athlete. You can follow the Southern California Warriors on Twitter at SoCal Warriors, on Instagram at Southern California_Warriors, and on Facebook by typing in the word Southern, then a space, California, then space, then Warriors. The second sponsor for IE Sports Radio is Background Check International Businesses. Are you looking to background check a new hire on? Let Kit Freeman take care of that for you. Kit founded and has managed Background Check International Businesses since 1994, and he's here to help you with the screening process. Contact Kit if you need any help to make the hiring process that much easier. Just as a disclaimer, however, this business is used for professional background checks and not for the use of any crimes such as identity theft or illegal activity. They do not have Twitter or Instagram, but they have Facebook. As long as you type in the word background, then space, check, space, international, space, then dash, then space again, BCI. And they also have a website, www.bcint.com. So thank you to Background Check International Businesses and the SoCal Warriors for being the official sponsors of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. And if you want to follow IE Sports Radio on Twitter and on Instagram, you can follow them at IE Sports Radio. You can also follow them on Instagram at IE Sports Radio. You can also follow them on Facebook, even though most people don't really use Facebook. And they also have the website, www.iesportsradio.com. We have lots of merchandise there, and you can learn a lot about our shows and the podcasters there. So now let's get on into the Southern California sports action goodness. Let's jump on into the Chargers, which I know the Rams and the Chargers played at the same time, but let's jump to the Chargers just because they have a bye. Spoiler alert. So the Chargers unfortunately got humbled. I'd say humiliated, but they got humbled against the Ravens. Like I said last week, I thought this was going to be a tough matchup against the Ravens. I think many people are underselling the Ravens just because they've been banged up. And I think that performance last week does not reflect the Chargers. I think it reflects how good of a team the Ravens are because they could easily be 6-0. They're one blunder in overtime away from being 6-0. And they're also a late Derek Carr drive in regulation field goal away from being 6-0 as well. So that's why I think the Ravens could be one of the better teams. And I think they could be the team to beat in the AFC. Now, that said, it's still a long season, and the Ravens, anything could happen with the Ravens. Heaven forbid they don't sustain any more injuries. But for the Ravens, they just straight up dominated them. They didn't even get a big-time performance from Lamar Jackson. They did do a great job with their defense holding Justin Herbert in check. This game kind of reminded me of the Seahawks Ravens game from a couple seasons ago when the Seahawks, I think they were undefeated and the Ravens were undefeated, and then the Seahawks basically got stomped on, which that's kind of what this game somewhat resembled, in my opinion. But all in all, it was just not the Chargers' day. Austin Eckler got stuffed on the run game. Justin Herbert's big options like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were taken away. And all his receivers were dropping the ball. Like, this was the one game where the refs, unfortunately, didn't take anything away, or they didn't give anything to the Chargers. All in all, it just was not the Chargers' day. And I think the Chargers are a much better team than this, but I think this is the loss they needed because they needed to get punched in the mouth just because they were 4-1 and they faced a big challenge, and they were coming off of an emotional win last weekend against the Cleveland Browns, and then to come off of that win and to go on the road to take on a tough Ravens team in a hostile environment is really tough. So I think this was the one loss that the Chargers kind of needed, and I'm better off the Chargers having a bad game now than them having a bad game in the postseason, just because you can make mistakes and you can lose certain games, but when it comes to postseason time, you can't really afford too many of those mistakes and you can't really afford too many of those losses. Now, you can't afford any losses at all in the postseason. So, all in all, the Chargers have got to wash this loss off, better themselves, and just work on many things. As They have a bye this week, which is good. I think they definitely needed the bye. The Chargers could be getting back Kenneth Murray and Justin Jones. That would be huge for them just because that defense did not do them any favors against the Ravens. Their next game will not be this week, but the following week against the New England Patriots. It's going to be on Halloween. It's going to be at SoFi. So, all in all, the Patriots have given the Chargers many fits in the past, and the last year was certainly no exception as the Chargers got stomped on by the Patriots. I'm hoping to bring back my friend who is a Patriots fan, and he loves talking sports and whatnot. And I think he's a big Boston fan. Like, he loves the Celtics, the Red Sox, the Patriots. He's not really a Bruins fan. He likes the Ducks, but his second team is the Bruins. But all in all, I would like to have him back on the show. I'll reach out to him. The Patriots this week take on the Jets, which should not be a difficult matchup. But I am looking forward to that Chargers-Patriots matchup. I think this year it will be a different year just because they have a new coach, they have new coordinators, and I think that loss to the Ravens just woke up the inner beast within the Chargers. And they know the Chargers need as many wins as possible just because the road still gets a little tougher, but it's going to ease up a bit. And something else I got to make note of is that normally I'd be disappointed after a humiliating loss like this, but I was not surprised that the Chargers would lose that one. And again, this is kind of the loss that the Chargers need in terms of a wake-up call. All in all, for the Chargers, they could either take this loss as in possibly curling up in a ball and saying, oh my God, we shouldn't have lost, or they could use this as a learning experience. And I think they're going to use this as a learning experience just because they know they are better than that, and that game does not reflect how good they are. I think that game reflects how really talented the Baltimore Ravens are and how they could be the team to beat in the AFC. And again, I think the Ravens are one blunder away from possibly being 6-0. So I'll be diving more into the Chargers-Patriots game once the time comes, but that's going to do it for the Chargers. All in all, I'm not disappointed. The fact that they're 4-2, they're ahead in the AFC West, and they also had a tough 6-game gauntlet is really, really impressive. Like, the fact that they're 4-2 is really impressive. And remember who they took on. They took on the Washington football team, which they have a really good defense, and they weren't as... I mean, looking at it right now, obviously people will say, well, Washington's not that good. No, I think Washington is slightly underrated. It's just that their offense is just... They just can't get it going. And obviously not having Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't help. But Taylor Heineke has done a great job filling in. And I think he could be running with that starting position really soon. So we'll see. And then you look at the Dallas Cowboys. They are 5-1 ever since they lost to the Patriots. Or not the Patriots, the Bucks in Week 1. So all in all, that's not looking like too bad of a loss for the Cowboys. For the Chargers against the Cowboys. And then the Chiefs are obviously the Chiefs. Winning at Arrowhead is darn right impressive. Beating the Browns is impressive despite, the questionable calls. And then before the Browns, they beat the Raiders on Monday Night Football, which was very impressive. They cooled down a sizzling hot Raiders team. And then the loss to the Ravens, I think, will benefit them because... Again, I think they hadn't really seen the Ravens in a while. Obviously, it's been 3 seasons since they last met in the postseason, and a lot has changed for the Ravens. And Lamar knows he's a better passer, and he can do a lot, and the Chargers' run defense needs to get better. And if they can better that run defense, I think the Chargers can be a threat. But for the Chargers going forward, they're just going to have to take it one day at a time, get healthy. They got to get everybody back on track. It would probably be a good idea if Mike Williams were to take it easy because he was not 100%, and I feared that he hurt his knee a little bit more. So All in all, for the Chargers, they're still in a good position, but they just got to be better. They got to get a little healthier, and this bye could not have come at a better time just because the Chargers are kind of a little ailing at the moment. So I'm still content with them being 4-2 despite their 6-game gauntlet to start the season. So all in all, I think the Chargers have what it takes to still make the postseason. It's just that this loss, I think everyone's taking this loss a little too out of context. I think people need to pump the brakes, and Marcellus Wiley said this best on his show. He said the Chargers obviously had a rough game from Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert did what every quarterback should do, or every quarterback has done, and that's have a bad game. This shows that Justin Herbert is human, and every quarterback has a bad game, such as Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson himself, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan. Like, everyone's making a huge deal of Justin Herbert having this bad game. Where was the big deal when Tom Brady had a bad game like this? Where was the big deal when Patrick Mahomes had a bad game like this? Like, it's ridiculous that people are saying Justin Herbert's overrated. Like, the dude's only in his second year, and he faced a solid defense. Like, I say the word solid just because I think the Ravens' defense is vastly underrated, despite all the changes that they had going on and all the departures that they had. So, I think the Chargers will be fine. I'm not worried about it too much. I just hope they could beat the Patriots just because that has been their house of horrors. And, yeah. So, that's going to do it for the Chargers. And one last thing before I close the book on the Chargers for this week is that they signed Andre Roberts from the Houston Texans. Andre Roberts is going to be their punt returner, and he did a stellar job with the Texans, even though the numbers this year haven't really said otherwise. But I think that's more so because the Texans are a complete dumpster fire, and I think Andre Roberts is going to have a better chance and a fresh start with the Chargers. And the Chargers really needed a good punt returner. Everyone's saying, well, we need a kicker. We need a defensive lineman. We need to patch up the run defense. Well, the Chargers are dead last in punt return yards. I think the Chargers need to take it one step at a time. And even Brandon Staley said so himself. He said he would like a better punt returner. So they just were not getting that production from KJ Hill and Larry Roundtree and Jalen Guyton and whatnot. So all in all, for the Chargers, I think they made a great signing with Andre Roberts. Do I think he's going to make a splash early on? No. Do I think he's going to be beneficial? Of course he will. We just got to give it time. All right, now that's the end of the Chargers. Now let's jump on over to the LA Rams as the Rams just steamrolled the Giants. Like I said last week, all the Rams needed to do was show up, and they were to get the win. It took them a little while to get it going just because Matt Stafford had an interception early on, but he was able to overcome that, and basically the Rams ripped off 38 consecutive points. It even got to the point where they got to play John Wolford, which was absolutely amazing. Unfortunately, Wolford did throw a pick himself, but it's not his fault. There's a reason why he's a backup for a reason. So the Rams moved to 5-1 on the season, as this week the Rams will be taking on the Detroit Lions, and, well, it's another opponent where I think the Rams should get the win against. And it's actually Matt Stafford's former team, as well as Jared Goff, who's on the Lions, playing his former team. So all in all, I think the Rams will definitely win. The Lions have come close to winning certain games, like against the Ravens and against the Vikings. But last week, the Lions got humiliated against the Bengals. It was the battle of cat teams, and unfortunately, that kitty from Detroit was not spayed or neutered. So, I butchered that joke, but oh well. All in all, for the Rams, it's just like last week. The Rams just need to show up to SoFi, and then poof. They just need to play their game and not get off to a slow start. Just because Sean McVay was not happy with the slow start that the Rams had against the Giants. And I totally agree. I think the Rams need to start a little bit better when it comes to games, because if they run into a tougher opponent like the Cardinals, well, they played the Bucs already, and they weren't off to a bad start, but they didn't get off to a bad start, but so did the Bucs. The Bucs didn't get off to a good start, but they didn't get off to a bad start. So if they run into that like Green Bay or Dallas Cowboys-esque type of team that could score at will, and they're most likely on the road, they're not going to have much success if they get off to a slow start. So against the Lions, I think they could definitely work around that. I feel that the Rams should win by 2 or more scores. If they're not winning by more than 2 scores, or 2 or more scores, then there's a problem with the Rams. I have the Rams winning. You know what? I'm just going to pick a score and stick with it. I'm going to say the Rams win 35-10. That's my final score. I mean, I originally was going to say 35-14, but I think 35-10 is kind of the norm for the Rams, just because they know how Jared Goff plays, and the fact that Penei Sewell has not been producing for the Lions is kind of disappointing, and it's kind of worrisome for the Lions going forward. I feel for Dan Campbell just because he got emotional from the loss against the Vikings, and I really want Dan Campbell to get that first win, but I don't think it's going to be this week, just because the Rams are a very tough team, and the Rams know that in order to keep pace with the Cardinals, which I'm surprised they're still in first place, they have to continue to win more games. And the Rams should enjoy this light schedule while they can, just because after the following week where they play the Texans, which that should also be a guaranteed win. Well, not guaranteed because any given Sunday, but you know what I mean. But after next Sunday, when they play the Texans, it starts to get a lot tougher when they play the Tennessee Titans on Sunday Night Football. And then I think the Rams play the 49ers after they face the Titans. Like I said, it's going to get a lot tougher for the Rams going forward. And after their little matchup against the Texans, there's only going to be one pretty much guaranteed win for them, and that's going to be against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which just recently got its first win of the season, beating Miami in London. So that's pretty good. But all in all, for the Rams, I think they'll be fine. They just cannot play down in their competition, and I would totally like to see them getting off to a better start. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think the Rams are in good shape, and they should be fine, because the Seahawks are a complete dumpster fire with, well, not quite a dumpster fire. That honor goes to the... That honor kind of goes to the Detroit Lions and to the Miami Dolphins and the Jacksonville Jaguars and all the other 1-2-0 win league. All the 1-win or Detroit Lions type of teams. So I think that the Rams are in good shape going forward. And they just got to play to their competition. And you look at the NFC West, I think it's down to a 2-horse race until the 49ers can get healthy. Because the 49ers are hella banged up. And unfortunately, I don't know when they'll get most of their players back. So we'll see what happens. I know Raheem Mostert's out for the year. And I know George Kittle was placed on IR. So all in all, for the 49ers, it's going to take them a while to get back to full strength. But the 49ers seem to always play the Rams tough. It always seems to be that way, and I don't know why. I don't know why Jimmy Garoppolo is just that talented, but time will tell. So that's going to do it for the NFL portion of this show. And the Rams, one more thing to note when it came to the Rams is that they had a couple of season-ending injuries, but it was to their second or third stringers. It was their second-string tight end and then their third-string running back. I think that running back's name was Jake Funk. I think the tight end's name was Johnny Mutz, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was Johnny Mutz and Jake Funk. So I don't have the name in front of me, and I'm not going to bother looking it up, but I'm 95% certain it was Johnny Mutz and Jake Funk that was placed on season-ending IR. So, well wishes to them, and hopefully they get back to the field as soon as possible, but that's pretty much it for the Rams. So that's going to do it for the NFL portion. Now let's jump to the NBA. So the NBA is officially back, which means the Lakers and Clippers are back doing their thing. So the Lakers unfortunately dropped a tough one to the Golden State Warriors, a 121-114 result was the final score of the game. The problem with the Lakers is that they actually did good through the first three quarters, but as the game progressed, going into the second half, they just pretty much ran out of juice going down the stretch. And then, unfortunately for the Warriors, well, unfortunately, if you're a Laker fan, unfortunately the Warriors just kept getting hot, and it was rather disappointing that the Lakers had to lose on their season opener. But the Warriors are darn good. For a team that's missing Klay Thompson and for a team that's missing James Wiseman, they are pretty solid. And I think the Warriors will be up there. Do I think it's time to crown the Warriors as champions? Absolutely not. I absolutely do not think the Warriors should be crowned as champions. And the fact that I'm seeing all of this Warriors praise and how the Warriors are good and that Steph Curry's the best shooter is really annoying. It's like, aren't championships supposed to be won in an 82-game season, not just a 1 or 2 game season? It's like, it's really frustrating. It's like please stop. It's like, please stop with the crowning of champions. But here's what would happen if the Lakers had won. Had the Lakers won, there would be no chatter of the Warriors regressing, of how they need Klay Thompson. There would be none of that. And you know what people would be saying if the Lakers had won? The Lakers looked good, but Russell Westbrook was bad. LeBron and AD were carrying the team and whatnot. Like, the Lakers were going to get slandered no matter what. Like, even if they had won, they would have gotten bad-mouth talked. Kind of like with what Skip Bayless does when it comes to talking about LeBron negatively day after day. The good thing about the Lakers was that LeBron and AD really showed up to play. And if AD could play like that and the Lakers can just get on board with one another, I think they're a tough team to take down. Like Reggie Miller said on Inside the NBA, it's going to be a process for the Lakers. Well, actually, it was the post-game show, as he and Kevin Harlan called the game. But it's going to be a process when it comes to the Lakers versus the world. As well, the Lakers, as someone pointed out to me, the Lakers are one of the best teams in the NBA. And I say one of the best teams just because I think the Nets are just as good as the Lakers, as Vegas is saying the Nets will win the NBA championship this year. They're giving them the best odds to do so, which is, surprising. And then another thing, why are the Brooklyn Nets getting a pass and not the Lakers? Everyone's saying, Russell Westbrook is not a team player and he needs to move to the bench and whatnot. It's like, we're really going to judge after one game. It's like, stop. Let me know how the Lakers are doing after, let's say, 10 games. If the Lakers are still underachieving, then it's a little bit of a problem. But I trust Frank Vogel and his system. I think, to me, everyone just needs to lay off on Lakers, because the Lakers are also battling injuries. I think they have 5 players out, which leads from Talen Horton-Tucker and then a few others as well. And then also note that the Lakers only have 3 returning players from last season's team. Like, everyone else is either new or they're basically a free agent signing and they need to relearn the system. So, all in all, I'm not even tripping about the Lakers' loss. Like, everyone is making a huge deal. Like, NBA Twitter needs to pump the brakes a little. And all you Warriors fans, and no offense to my friends that are Warriors fans, all these Warriors fans saying the Warriors are the best team in California, it's like, I see this dumb claim every day. It's like, why are we making claim after claim after claim after claim that the Warriors are the best team? It's like, did we forget the Bucks are a thing, even though they lost to Miami yesterday? Did we forget the Nets are a thing? Did we forget the Suns are a thing? Like, why are we crowning the Warriors already? And also, why so close for the Warriors? To move on from the Lakers, the Clippers had their season opener against the Golden State Warriors at Chase Center. I think that is what it's called because from what I heard, Oracle Arena no longer exists, which is sad face, but it is what it is. Anyway, so the Clippers lost their season opener against the Golden State Warriors, 115-113. Keep in mind, the Clippers are without Kawhi Leonard for a good portion of the season. There are speculations that he could miss the entire season due to a partially torn ACL from last year's NBA playoffs, and that takes a while to come back from. And then also they didn't have Serge Ibaka and a few other players, so to me, I think the Clippers are still a work in progress. It's tough to judge them. But all in all, I think the Clippers could, hence the word could, make some noise this season. I'm not going to guarantee it like Charles Barkley would, but I think the Clippers, despite them losing last night, are a team to watch for. Because they were down by as many as 19. The average team would have probably just thrown in the towel and said, we can't win. We've lost. Bye-bye. Let's just throw in the towel. But they were down, keep in mind they were down by as many as 19 in the first half. Then they used a 25-5 run to take a 1-point lead going into halftime, and they had a 3-point lead going into the final quarter. It's just that Steph Curry became a thing as he dropped a 40-piece on the Clippers, and he also had a double-double as well. In the game against the Lakers, Steph Curry said he played like garbage, but he had a triple-double as well. So, all in all, for the Warriors, they are a good team, and the Clippers are still learning. Like, they're still a work in progress, and I don't think anybody should be tripping. And I'm not a Clippers advocate, but I think they're much better than what most people are giving them credit for. It's just going to have to take a while to adapt with life without Kawhi for a little bit. So the Clippers are back at it on Saturday against the Memphis Grizzlies, while the Lakers are back at it tonight against the Phoenix Suns. It's another tough matchup for the Lakers, as the Suns are obviously a legit contender. They did lose at Denver, they did lose to Denver at home on Wednesday, and that's another thing. Why are people not judging the Suns? Like, the Suns lost to a Denver Nuggets team that didn't have Jamal Murray, and he's probably out for a good portion of the season. Like, why are the Suns not getting this criticism, but the Lakers are? I understand the Lakers have 17 championships, which is tied for the most in the NBA, but I'm going to just say this right here. I think it's rather ridiculous that everyone is slandering the Lakers, but not slandering everybody else. But when the Lakers are successful, no one's giving a rat's tail about it, and everyone's not giving a rat's tail until the end of the season, where the Lakers are starting to come on or come off. Either way, it's just the beginning of the season. Laker and Clipper fans, calm down. We don't need to panic. There's plenty of season left. It's only one game out of 82. Don't listen to the Warriors fans who are saying, oh, the Warriors are going to be champs this year. It's like, I'll believe it when I see it. Like, heck, the Warriors could be Peyton Manning in the playoffs, where they basically go one and done. And I don't believe any of the baloney sauces that people are telling me, saying the Lakers are going to be one and done or any of that stuff. It's like, come on. It's like they have one bad season and filled with injuries, and now we're starting to doubt the Lakers. Then why do they have the second best odds of winning the championship? Like, people and these Twitter idiots these days, they need to get a clue. But that's going to do it for the NBA. As for the Grizzlies-Clippers, the Grizzlies, they're kind of that borderline good, borderline bad team. I could see the Clippers winning that one, but it's not going to be easy. And I can at least see the Lakers winning one game, if not winning both, just because the Suns are coming off of a loss to the Nuggets, And then against the Grizzlies, I think the Lakers can handle the Grizzlies. It's just that it's going to take some more time, and Russell Westbrook definitely needs to figure it out. I am not saying that the Russell Westbrook trade was a bust for the Lakers, but I think the Lakers are just a work in progress. I think people, once again, they need to calm down with the ridiculous takes saying the Lakers are basically not as good as they were back 2 seasons ago. Like, give the Lakers time. Like, this was the same case 2 seasons ago when they wound up winning it all. Like, the Clippers beat the Lakers in the season opener, and look what happened. The Lakers wound up pretty much dominating most of the way. So, let's give the Lakers and every other team time, and let's not crown people. Like, if I have to see that, I'm basically going to start muting the NBA, and this is why I partially hate the NBA, and this is why I hate the beginning of the season. Everyone is making a huge deal of it when it's only the beginning of a certain season. So, please stop with these ridiculous takes, y'all. Alright, but that's going to do it for the NBA portion of the show. Let's jump on into some MLS action, as the Galaxy and LAFC actually won a game. Oh my goodness, I could not believe it. Last weekend, the Galaxy defeated the Portland Timbers. That was a huge win. They won in extra time, and I want to say that game-breaking goal, or the game-winning goal, came about 5 minutes before extra time was up. And that was a huge win for the Galaxy, as that was their first win in over 2 months, as they defeated the Portland Timbers in extra time 3-1. Good job to the Galaxy. LAFC also got their first win in over a month, as they defeated the San Jose Quakes 3-1. And that was also a huge win for LAFC, because that was their first win in over a month. So I actually was going to say this on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account, that SoCal has been beating NorCal for quite a bit, like such as the Dodgers beating the Giants last weekend and eliminating them from the playoffs. And then you also have the San Jose Quakes losing to LAFC, and then San Diego State losing to San Diego State beating San Jose State. So, all in all, for SoCal versus NorCal, it's kind of been SoCal taking it for the most part, but I'm not going to go rubbing it in. But back to LAFC and the LA Galaxy. So, the LA Galaxy also picked up a win on Wednesday, as they defeated the Houston Dynamo. Yeah, that was the team. The Houston Dynamo. They defeated them 3-0, and it was happiness. Happiness and bliss, just because I was really happy to see that they picked up that victory, and then also that they've won 2 in a row. And they're currently 5th in the Western Conference standings, as they're starting to pick up some steam really quick. And they couldn't have picked a better time to pick up steam, just because, well, they were obviously underachieving, but I think the fact that they were needing a desperate win in the greatest situation of all kind of speaks high volumes. So, all in all, for the Galaxy, they definitely needed the win, and they got the win, and I couldn't be more proud as a Galaxy supporter / Galaxy fan. So, good job to the Galaxy on picking up the victories. So next up for the Galaxy, they are hitting the road to take on Dallas, which they should be able to win that one. But again, don't guarantee anything when it comes to the Galaxy, just because they have been known for losing to opponents that they should normally beat, which is sickening if you ask me. I think they are a much better team than some of those losses indicate. And I think the Galaxy are starting to come on rather sooner rather than later. So I trust the LA Galaxy should win that one. But after the Galaxy win, it's going to be a lot tougher, just because Their last 3 games are Seattle, then Sporting KC, then Minnesota. And as I said on Twitter, and as a reply to one of my friends who covers the LA Galaxy, that's basically a murderer's row of opponents. And Minnesota could loom large when it comes to the Galaxy, because Minnesota's also vying for playoff positioning as well. And as for LAFC, their remaining schedule is kind of oof, if you ask me, because most of their opponents are mostly playoff teams or teams that are vying for playoffs positioning. So for LAFC, they're basically in must-win mode as they also have a game this weekend, and honestly, they need that win. They need to win, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, just because, well, LAFC has just not been good this season. Like, they have been pretty bleh this season, and they did beat Dallas on Wednesday 3-2, but Dallas is kind of one of the worst teams in the MLS. They're the second worst team, so I'm not going to judge. So, like I said on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account, that most of LAFC matches are must-wins as they play at Minnesota on Saturday. So, currently, when it comes to the standings, Minnesota is 6th while the Galaxy is 5th. LAFC would be doing the Galaxy a huge favor if they win, and they'd be doing themselves a favor as, believe it or not, LAFC has 40 points, while Vancouver, which plays Colorado... Vancouver has games on Saturday, is currently ahead of LAFC, and Real Salt Lake is also ahead of LAFC. So, basically, LAFC has their work cut out for them. They're going to need a lot of help going forward, but LAFC still has a chance. And then the Galaxy, like I said, they have Dallas. They have to win that one. There's no excuses. No more excuses. And as my buddy Andrew Hagenbaugh, aka the Soccer Scoreboard Show, said on Twitter, you got as long as they get points, they should be in good shape of making the playoffs. So, all in all, for the Galaxy and LAFC, the Galaxy are still in a good position to make the postseason, but for LAFC, they are in must-win mode, so we'll see what happens going forward between those two, but I think the Galaxy are starting to improve their playoff odds by the day, just because I think they are a good team. Do I think they are indestructible? Of course not. They have their flaws. But getting a win over Dallas would be great, because then they'd be on a 3-game winning streak going into Seattle, then Sporting KC, then Minnesota. And keep in mind that the Seattle and Minnesota games are on the road, and that is brutal for the Galaxy. So LAFC, on the other hand, like I said, they are in must-win mode, and they cannot afford too many losses at this point, just because they need to win. And I think that looking at their schedule, they have Minnesota on the road. Then Tuesday, they are home against the Sounders. Then the following Tuesday, they are home against Vancouver, which, like I said, that's vying for playoff positioning. Currently, they are 6th in the standings. And then LAFC closes off the season against Colorado. So this is basically do-or-die mode for LAFC if they actually want to make the playoffs. But I really have to give it up to the Galaxy of having a better playoff chances, as 4 matches remain for both teams, and neither team can afford mistakes at this point. Primarily the Galaxy, because they're currently 5th, and if they were to collapse at this point of the season, despite them being atop of the Western Conference standings for the most part, I think that'd be rather embarrassing for them. Like, it's bad enough they had this 2-month losing drought, but to miss the playoffs on top of that, that would be the cherry on top. So that is basically going to do it for the MLS portion of the show. I know it wasn't as lengthy as the NFL or NBA portion, but the MLS race is really heating up, and I'm really excited to see what the Galaxy have in store. I think they can do it. I really think they have what it takes to win on Saturday. LAFC, I could see them winning as well, but they need to start playing perfect or near perfect the rest of the way. As the Galaxy, like I said, they're only 1 point back of Portland as well. So that win over Portland did the Galaxy some good as well. And despite Vancouver beating Portland, which in hindsight, it's now looking like the Vancouver win over Portland is doing the Galaxy more good than it is harm. I think the Galaxy can continue to win because looking at Portland's schedule, Portland has Colorado tomorrow. Please win, Colorado. And then they have San Jose on Wednesday, which San Jose is vying for playoff positioning. And then Real Salt Lake is also vying for playoff position. That's going to be the following Wednesday. And then Portland closes off its season at home against Austin, which that's basically a game for pride if you're Austin, but I digress. But between Portland and the Galaxy, I think Portland has the more favorable schedule, so we'll see what happens. But that's going to do it for the MLS portion of the show. Just to close the book on them, I really hope the Galaxy can pull it off because that would not be fun for them to collapse after they've been atop the Western Conference standings for the most part. So that's going to do it for this portion of the MLS when it comes to Southern California. Let's take ourselves a little commercial break. When we come back, we will have more Southern California sports to discuss, such as the Dodgers and how they are one loss away from being eliminated. I'm also going to end Twitter Spaces right now just because, I need the second half portion of the show to my iPhone. And then also there will be discussion of San Diego State being undefeated as they are currently in the top 25 still as they play Air Force this weekend. And then UCLA plays Oregon and USC plays Notre Dame, which... Do I really need to discuss that? And then we also have some Dumb Dumb of the Week awards to award to certain dumb people. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all of that sports. We'll be right back after a word from these other shows.
From the shores of the Puget Sound to the rushing waters of the Columbia River, stretching across the Great Cascades, and on IE Sports Radio lives the Northwest Territory Sports Show, hosted by me, Brad Buckingham. On this show, I cover all the great collegiate and professional sports teams that we have here in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, I'm talking about the Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariners, Sounders, and even the Seattle Kraken. But I can't forget all of that is good in Oregon either. I got the Trailblazers, the Oregon Ducks, the Beavers, even the Timbers, and much, much more. You can listen to the show every Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Eastern, noon to 1 p.m. Pacific on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, sports fans? Are you looking for the latest on Northern California sports? Then take a trip out west with me, your host, Gina G, on Reppin' the NorCal Sports, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'll be bringing it to you all the way live every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. And it's always a packed show. I'll bring you everything Dynastic 49ers, the bite of the San Jose Sharks, torture of the San Francisco Giants, the Golden State Warriors that we still believe. Then take you across the bay to the rise and grind of the Oakland A's. I've got you covered on college ball from the Cal Bears to the Stanford Cardinal, so that no matter what, reppin' in NorCal sports is always reppin' the Bay. So if you bleed red and gold, or you're looking to keep an eye out west in them thar hills, don't miss me, Gina G, on reppin' in NorCal sports. Catch me every Monday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and I'll have your fandom repped harder than a trio of defenders guarding Stephen Curry before his buzzer beater is Gucci.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What is going on, everybody? My name is Harrison Glazer, and we're coming at you from the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. I cover the Jets, the Islanders, the Nets, and the Yankees.
This is Pierre Moss, and I cover the Mets, Knicks, Rangers, and the Giants.
Our show is live every Wednesday through Spreaker and a bunch of other ways to get our content. Again, we're the Show That Never Sleeps podcast. We talk about all those New York sports. It's a lot of fun. We get into all of it. Please tune in. Again, that's Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
And we look forward to having you guys right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Everybody, this is Teran Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunderous Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What is going on, everybody? This is Ben Metello, the host of the Yinza Report, right here on IE Sports Radio. I'm bringing you the latest in the Steel City, the City of Champions, from the Steelers, the Penguins, the Pirates, as well as the college game with both Penn State and Pitt. You could join me every Tuesday afternoon at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, where I'll be talking about everything from the Steel City, the City of Champions, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the second half of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. You can catch all of our amazing shows on social media and on several different streaming platforms such as Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Podcast Addict, GeoSavin, and some of our shows are on iHeartRadio such as Set Point, which you just heard. And apologies for taking an extended break than normal, just because I had to make a important call, and I apologize to the listeners out there, so that's my apologies and my bad. So, second half of this show is underway, as we'll try to speed through this as much as possible. So, let's jump to some baseball action. So, for some baseball action, the Dodgers are the only team remaining in Southern California, as they are one loss away from being eliminated from the playoffs. Hold on, excuse me a second. Sorry about that. I just needed to sneeze for a bit. Anyway, the Dodgers are one loss away from being eliminated from the playoffs, but they've been in this situation before against the Atlanta Braves. The Braves had a 3-1 lead going into Thursday night, as the Dodgers lost to the Braves 9-2. I should actually take it from the top. Game 1, the Dodgers lost off of a walk-off to the Braves, as they lost, I think it was 3-2. Yes, 3-2. I should never second-guess myself. And then in Game 2, the Dodgers lost to the Braves 5-4. And then in Game 3, which was Tuesday, the Dodgers won 6-5 after they were trailing 5-2 for the most part. And then on Wednesday, the Dodgers got hammered by the Braves 9-2, and then yesterday the Dodgers won 11-2 on Thursday. So Game 6 is Thursday, and the series does shift to Atlanta. So the Dodgers have to be road warriors. They have to be road warriors, as now the Dodgers will be taking on the Braves at 2:08 p.m. Pacific time, which is 5:08 p.m. Eastern time. So for the Dodgers, they're going to have to play true Dodgers baseball, and they're going to need to have they're going to have to bring their best. Their pitchers have to be on point. They can't give up multiple runs. And then their bats have got to be singing, and they have to be, like, on fire. They have to produce runs, because that seems to be a rather issue for the Dodgers, is producing runs. On the mound for the Dodgers on Saturday is Max Scherzer, while Ian Anderson is also on the mound for the Braves. Yesterday, the Dodgers had their bullpen battle, and they actually came out on top. Scherzer will hopefully bring the Dodgers to a Game 7, and I would like to see a Game 7 for the Dodgers and the Braves. I just hate how the Dodgers got into this situation. I said Dodgers in 6, and now I'm feeling rather silly for that prediction. But for the Dodgers, they've been in this situation before. Last season, they were down 3-1 to the Braves, and they were able to turn the tide and win 4-3. And I think the Dodgers can come back. Everyone says that 84% of the teams that are up 3-1 in the series go on to win that series, but I think the Dodgers can be the lone exception to try to turn the tables. The Dodgers were in must-win situation when they took on the San Francisco Giants in the previous round, and look at what they did. they were able to defeat the Giants. I have no doubt in the Dodgers. I mean, most people are pretty much doubting them, but I think with every win the Dodgers get at this point of the season, they come closer and closer to picking up the series victory. And I think it takes the Dodgers a little while to get it going. And I know Dave Roberts really blundered in Game 4, leaving Julio Urias on the mound, but the Dodgers also showed some great resolve after they were down 2-0 in the first inning, as the Braves hit two home runs to get them on the board in a 2-0 start in game number 5. But then the Dodgers scored 11 unanswered, and that was pretty much the game. So, again, the Dodgers need to have their bats on fire, and they have to get it going this week. Or, not this week. They have to get it going in Game 6, just because the Dodgers, they've come too far to lose at this point. And if they do get to the World Series, they would love nothing more than to face the Houston Astros, or the Boston Red Sox, because those two teams are actually the teams that beat the Dodgers back in 2017 and 2018. So the Dodgers would love nothing more than to get to the World Series. But those two teams are actually really good. Like, the Astros are really impressive, and they are also trying to rewrite their narrative of they want to win without cheating, even though most people are speculating that they are cheating. And then the Red Sox are trying to rewrite their narrative of they had an atrocity season last year, and they're trying to get back to the World Series and whatnot. The Astros lead the Red Sox in the series 3-2. And I would not be surprised if the Astros won. I hope the Red Sox, for their sake, can get to the World Series, but it's starting to look doubtful just because the Astros have a lot of great pieces offensively, and they have great pieces when it comes to pitching. So, all in all, for the Dodgers, however, they just have to take care of their end of their series, and once they do that, then they could focus on the next game at hand, and then the next game at hand, and then the next game at hand. So we'll see what happens for the Dodgers, but all in all, I could say that the Dodgers had a fantastic season. They have been absolutely phenomenal. I would like to see them actually win a World Series again, just because people are saying, well, the Dodgers didn't win a full season, and this is an asterisk title and whatnot. So, all in all, for the Dodgers, I would like to see them win a 182-game World Series, but I don't discredit last year's World Series. It's like, I still cannot take, to this day, people discrediting the Dodgers for what they did last year. It's like, it's a World Series. I don't care if it was in a 60-game season, 162-game season, or a round-robin playoff series. I don't care. It's like, no one else would be saying, if it were any other team winning, like the Giants or the Angels or the Red Sox or the Rays, no one would be saying squat. Everyone would be hailing that team as God. So, all in all, for the Dodgers, I hope they can force a Game 7 and then win that en route to making the World Series. So, all in all, for the Dodgers, they just have to play their game. So, we'll see what happens going forward into Saturday and possibly Sunday. So, that'll basically do it for the Dodgers this week. And, again, hopefully they could stay alive. I have confidence in them. And I will be doing those prayer circles like I have been the previous games. And then, because I actually didn't do a prayer circle for Game 4, and they actually lost. But I think that's just coincidence. I don't think it's actuality. So, but we'll see. Maybe it is a theory that I should continue to do prayer circles on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account. So, there's that. Alright, moving on. We forgot all about the NHL. So, the NHL, remember when the Ducks and the Kings won their first game of the season? Those are good times. It's kind of been a little bit south for the Ducks ever since. Like, the Ducks have still won their games, but they're not winning as frequent as this past Monday, this last Friday, the Ducks lost to the Minnesota Wild 2-1, but they were able to win in a thrilling overtime game against the Calgary Flames 3-2. But then this past Tuesday, the Ducks lost to the Edmonton Oilers 6-5 in a high-scoring affair. And then yesterday, the Ducks lost to the Jets 5-1, which was disappointing. So much for the Ducks being in first place in the Pacific Division. I said on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show Twitter account that the Ducks were tied for first place with, I don't know who it was, I think it was Edmonton. And then I said in reply to IE Sports Radio, stop the count! Unfortunately, the request never was met. So, all in all, for the Ducks, they're back to kind of being the Ducks. So, this week for the Duckies, they have Minnesota on the road on Saturday. Then they are back home against the Winnipeg Jets on Tuesday. Then they have the Buffalo Sabres on Thursday. And then next Friday, they are hitting the road to Sin City, a.k.a. Vegas, to take on the Golden Knights. So, NHL is back in full swing, and hopefully, just hopefully, we could see the Ducks or the Kings in the postseason. The Kings, I don't really see them in the postseason for too long. Remember when they beat the Golden Knights 6-2? They're kind of taking a little bit of a south toll as well, as they lost to the Minnesota Wild 3-2 last Saturday, and then last Tuesday the Kings lost to the Nashville Predators 2-1. So tonight the Kings are hitting the road to the Lone Star State to take on the Dallas Stars, and then following that game they are hitting the road to take on the St. Louis Blues. Then on Monday they'll have another game against the Blues, and then Thursday they'll be back at home to take on the Winnipeg Jets. So the Kings have an early road trip going on. The road trip already happened when they played the Predators, and now they're playing the Stars and the Blues again, and then they'll be back home next Thursday to take on the Jets. So I'm not going to panic about the Kings just yet. I think the Kings have only played 3 matches. The Ducks have played 2 more than them. I just wish the Ducks and the Kings would make the postseason, just because I'm sick of them not being in the playoffs and whatnot. All of California hockey has been bad. The San Jose Sharks have been iffy. The Ducks have always been an atrocity. And then the Kings have basically been a retirement home. So we'll see what happens with the Ducks and the Kings going forward. But I would like to see the Anaheim Ducks being able to... Me as a Duck fan would like to see the Ducks back in the playoffs, just because it's been a long while since they last won the Stanley Cup. It's been 2008 since they last won the Stanley Cup, so it's been over 10 years since they last won it. And then I know people are going to say, well, the Ducks won the Stanley Cup sooner, their first Stanley Cup sooner than the Kings did. No, please stop with that. Please stop with that. I don't want to hear that argument anymore. The Kings have 2 Stanley Cup championships, with their last one being in 2014. But for the Kings, their 2 are kind of overdue for a deep playoff run, and also a Stanley Cup. But I think the Ducks, in my mind, are more long overdue for it. So, continuing on with the Southern California sports, that'll do it for the NHL. Let's jump on into some college sports. Well, college football, because we're not going to talk about all college sports. For college football, USC is back after their bye week, and they'll be hitting the road to South Bend to take on Notre Dame. Ooh, Nelly, this one's going to be a tough one for the Trojans. This is going to be a real tough matchup for USC, as they'll be battling out for the Jeweled Chalet. And again, here's hoping the USC can make it respectable, because I do not see the Trojans beating the Fighting Irish, especially at South Bend. And I don't even see USC covering. Notre Dame is a 7-point favorite, so I know that was the emergence of Keaton Slovis, but I don't think he's going to have the same game he had that year, as Notre Dame is they're still good. It's just that USC is nowhere near the team that everyone expected them to be. And it's disappointing just because they fired Clay Helton, and I think firing them in the middle of the season really hurt them. I think they should have just waited till the end of the season, kind of like with what LSU did with Ed Ogeron and whatnot. So I think firing a coach in the middle of the season affects the team's morale, and it also affects the coaching staff's morale. So it really sucks, but I think USC kind of jumped the gun a little bit. So we'll have to see with what USC can do. But I have Notre Dame winning. I'll make it a little respectable. I'll say Notre Dame wins 34-24. I think USC gets a couple of garbage time points, but I think ultimately they will fall to the Fighting Irish, and the Jeweled Chalet will be staying with the Fighting Irish, which is disappointing, but if the USC Trojans actually do win, then I will gladly eat my crow. I have been wrong quite a bit about USC and UCLA. But all in all, for the Trojans, I don't see them beating Notre Dame. If they do beat Notre Dame, then this will probably be the highlight of their season. That and maybe winning the Bell over UCLA, possibly. Speaking of UCLA, that's actually a perfect segue to go into UCLA football, as they'll be having a home game against Oregon on Saturday. This will be nationally televised. It'll be on ABC, and College Game Day is coming to Westwood, as the Bruins will be nationally televised, and they'll be nationally recognized by ESPN College Game Day, which will be fun. And this is a crucial matchup for both UCLA and Oregon, as UCLA is 3-1 in the Pac-12 South, while Oregon is 2-1 in the Pac-12 North. The Pac-12 North has been quite a bit of a logjam, whereas the Pac-12 South has Utah leading the fray, and I was surprised to see Utah pulling out that big victory over Arizona State, 35-21. Yeesh. But for UCLA, because they're Southern California and not Utah and Arizona State, for UCLA, this would be a huge win for them. They came close to knocking off Oregon last season, but they fell just short. Poor UCLA. But I think for UCLA, they managed to narrowly escape with a victory over Washington, a.k.a. the Crying Dumpster Fire. I'm sorry to all the Washington fans, but I feel Washington is a crying dumpster fire, spewing out juices of smelliness and sewage. So for UCLA, they have to pull out the victory. It's going to be tough to beat Oregon. I know Oregon has quite a bit of talent on their team, but they have quite a bit of question marks. You know, I hate picking against UCLA, and I'm probably going to get dunked on if I pick against UCLA, but I think Oregon's going to take this one. I think it'll be close, though. I think Oregon isn't as invincible as most people thought they were. Believe it or not, UCLA actually is favored by 1 point, which is funny. I think Oregon wins. I want to make this respectable. I'll say Oregon wins 38-28. That sounds like a respectable score. I don't think UCLA is going to get demolished, but I just think Oregon's going to pull away in the second half. I think UCLA is going to fight Oregon tooth and nail, and then in the second half, Oregon is going to realize, wait, we're Oregon. We're not afraid of this team. We're not afraid of these baby blue shirts. So, yeah, I think Oregon will struggle a little bit, but I think they'll ultimately grind out the victory. Again, I will eat my crow and take my dunkings if UCLA pulls out the victory. I will not be afraid to say I was wrong, and I think that UCLA is better than expected. But this would be a huge win for Chip Kelly defeating Oregon, because I think he used to coach Oregon. I'm not sure. But all in all, for Or for Oregon, they're not as good as what everybody thought they were, because they lost to Stanford. They lost to the Nerds. And then UCLA beat the Nerds. So we'll see what happens going forward. But all in all, for UCLA, I think they'll make this one very respectable. And I think College Game Day made the right choice picking UCLA and Oregon. Now, let's jump on over to San Diego State, because there was actually some correlation that I need to clear up. So, San Diego State is actually undefeated. And then I guess the San Diego State Athletics Twitter account said, let's show ESPN College Game Day that we have school spirit as well. So, make a poster and go to Westwood and show that San Diego and represent for San Diego State. I kind of think that was a silly decision on their part to say that. And it's like, you're going to go all the way from San Diego down to LA or Westwood or the Rose Bowl just to pose with a San Diego State poster that says go Aztecs. It's like, come on. I understand what San Diego State wants to do. San Diego State has been successful, and honestly, you can't knock San Diego State's hustle. They have been rather impressive this season, and the fact that they are undefeated shows that the San Diego State team is for real. I think last year it was just one of the more forgetful seasons for the Aztecs and whatnot. So, all in all, for San Diego State, they'll have their time when it comes to College Game Day. Something that definitely needs to be noted is that San Diego State football tweeted this out. They said, hey, College Game Day, next time you come to Cali, you should visit the winningest program in the state. And believe it or not, San Diego State, ever since 2015, they are 59-22, and they have a winning percentage of 728. And keep in mind, this is for all of California, not just Southern California, but Northern California as well. So San Diego State has been in 5 bowl games, and once again, their record speaks for itself. Stanford is actually number 2 with 51 wins and 28 losses and a winning percentage of 646. USC is 50-28, and they have been in 4 bowl games. And currently, the rest of the California teams are not ranked. Not Stanford, not USC, not Fresno State, not Cal, not UCLA, and not San Jose State. So, speaking of San Jose State and San Diego State just barely grinded out a victory over San Jose State. They actually won 19-13 in double overtime. I swear, I think I'm more concerned for San Diego State fans every time I see a close result with San Diego State football. I think everyone needs to do a health and wellness check on every San Diego State fan after every game, whether it's a win or a lose or a loss. But San Diego State is undefeated at the moment, and honestly, San Diego State deserve its recognition, and I hope San Diego State does get a College Game Day. The problem is that they're not a Power 5 school, and it's tough for the Mountain West to have that recognition, just like USC and UCLA. And I feel for San Diego State. I think they're kind of like the lovable underdog that everyone loves. I think San Diego State, to me, is kind of like the Chargers, and then the Rams are USC. Well, no, I don't think that. And I think the Rams and Raiders are USC and UCLA, while San Diego State is the Chargers. Everyone likes the Raiders and Rams more than the Chargers do in Los Angeles. So there's that. And then San Diego State's just trying to be the lovable underdog that they want to be when it comes to winning and being recognized. And I understand what San Diego State football is saying. But can I also say, can you please not use the term Cali? Please use California. Please don't use the word Cali. I understand you are from California, but please don't use Cali. I just cringed when I saw it. It's like, you used Cali? It's like, oh, you're lucky I have a soft spot for you, San Diego State. You're lucky you're undefeated. Otherwise, I would chew you up and spit you out. Oh my God, San Diego State. Cali. Ugh. I feel I need to wash myself after repeating that. Anyway, San Diego State is hitting the road to beautiful Colorado to take on the Air Force. So this is going to be a battle of San Diego State's ground game versus Air Force's defense. Air Force has only lost one game on the season, and that was to Utah State, which I'm kind of surprised they lost that one. And that is in the Mountain West Western Division. The Mountain West Mountain Division. Why do they not have East or West? Why do they have to have the Mountain West Mountain Division and the Mountain West Western Division? Either way, San Diego State is all alone in first place in the Mountain West Western Division, as the schedule's going to start to pick up for the Aztecs, as the Aztecs have Air Force. The Aztecs are 3-point underdogs against Air Force, and they're playing at Colorado. And here's hoping the Aztecs can pull out the win. I think they can, but here's the thing. Against San Jose State, they kind of need to lean a little bit more on Jordan Brookshire. I know Brady Hoke's system is not a passing one. They're not going to really pass a whole lot. And I understand Greg Bell had himself a bad game. But if San Jose State is able to figure out the run game for San Diego State, then I imagine Air Force is going to be just as ready. Now, San Jose State could have a better run defense, but I still think San Diego State needs to be prepared to have Jordan Brookshire pass more, because in his game against San Jose State last week, Brookshire did not throw any touchdowns, as the one who threw the touchdowns was Lucas Johnson, which is kind of strange. It's like, Did they just use two quarterbacks? Did they use a Jacoby Brissett type of thing, or did they use a Chicago Bears thing, kind of like with what Matt Nagy did with Andy Dalton and Justin Fields? Either way, I don't know what San Diego State wants to do. I think San Diego State is a good team. I think they have potential. I'm going to say San Diego State wins this weekend, and I'm taking them to win 27-24. I think that's a respectable score. I think it's going to be close. I really think that San Diego State should win, and it would be great if they win, because if they want the recognition they deserve, they have to play on the level of everybody. Because you look at Air Force, their players have a lot bigger stats. When there's a lot more stats on the season. You look at the rushing stats, Brad Roberts has way more rushing yards than Greg Bell. And then Hazik Daniels has way more passing yards. Well, not more passing yards, but still, compared to Brookshire, it's no contest. So for San Diego State, they're going to have to shuffle up their offensive strategy. I know change is scary for some teams, but if San Jose State can block off the run game, then who's to say that Air Force isn't going to be doing the same thing? Or Fresno State, or Hawaii, or UNLV, or Boise State. You just got to be careful when it comes to some of these opponents, because if you're that one-dimensional against certain opponents, it'll be successful, but once other teams start to catch on, then it's going to be a recipe for disaster. So we'll see what happens with San Diego State, but again, I have them winning 27-24. This could be a rough weekend for Southern California NCAA football in the FBS. I hope it's not. I want to see USC pull off the upset. I want to see UCLA win at home against Oregon, and I also want to see San Diego State win, but it's going to be a very tough go-around in the college football scene. So we'll see what happens going forward. But that's going to do it for the college football portion of the show. Before we before we end this off, we have to give out our Dum Dum of the Week awards. So the Dum Dum of the Week award goes out to people that do dumb things in dumb places, and when you do those dumb things, it just makes me want to say, oh my God, how did you mess this up? And oh my God, let me just say, the dumbness around that I just experienced the past few days is actually rather surprising, and it's rather sickening. And I'm very surprised at what's happening when it comes to all the dumbness happening around in the world. So I actually have three Dum Dum of the Week awards to give out. And I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible, as I know I got to get out of here. Well, not get out of here, but we have a show coming on most likely at 2 p.m. Pacific time, 5 p.m. Eastern. But the first Dum Dum of the Week award, I don't even know where to start. So we're going to start with the most recent Dum Dum. And that happens to be all the way up in Philadelphia. So the Philadelphia 76ers are a proud organization. They pride themselves with trying to improve. And Doc Rivers is a respectable coach, even though he has been on the Boston Celtics. And he won a championship with the Celtics. But this past week, a.k.a. Thursday, Tuesday. I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, but regardless, this past week, what happened when it came to the NBA and the Philadelphia 76ers was probably the most questioning that I've ever seen happen before, as one person by the name of Ben Simmons decided to be a complete lolcow and actually get himself kicked out of practice. Now, Ben Simmons has been on the trading block for a while, and the Sixers have been trying to get Ben Simmons traded ever since his blunder in Game 7 of the NBA playoffs from last season against the Atlanta Hawks. So, what Ben Simmons did was not only dumb, but it was rather illogical. So this happened back in practice, and what happened was, this actually did happen on Tuesday, so what happened is that Ben Simmons and the rest of the team were about to do a drill for Doc Rivers. And unfortunately, Ben Simmons didn't want to do the drill. And then he was told again, you got to do the drill. And then he said, no, I'm not going to. So what happened with Doc Rivers is that he kicked him out and sent him home. Which, it's like, are you joking? And I'm just looking at this, it's like, are you kidding me? How do you get kicked out of practice? It's like, getting kicked out of practice is for like high school and college players. You are a professional. You should be acting like it. Like, I don't know what really happened. Like, I did hear that there wasn't a fight, but there was an argument. And then, again, Ben Simmons got kicked out of practice. And the fact that the 76ers are still justifying for this, it's like, come on. There's no way Ben Simmons should be on the team after what he did. Like, this dude is going to be on the Guangdong Tigers or the Shanghai Sharks. But for Ben Simmons, for what you did getting kicked out of practice and making a complete clown of yourself, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week award.
So dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
So that's Dum Dum of the Week number 1. Dum Dum of the Week number 2. Okay, so now let's jump on over to the topic of sports talk on TV and being prepared. So this happened Tuesday morning, and this happened, I believe, I think it was on First Take. I'm not sure what show it was, because I don't really look at those shows often anymore. I don't look at First Take ever since Max Kellerman left, or I don't look at Undisputed with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Matter of fact, I don't like looking at Skip Bayless at all, based on how every day it's just make fun of LeBron and the Lakers. It's stupid. I'm sorry, but I don't watch Undisputed. And that's an undisputed fact. Anyway, so this happened, I believe, on First Take or whatnot. And, oh boy. I don't know what show this was on, but this person right here, this was the day after Monday Night Football happened. And boy howdy, Chris Broussard. The fact that this guy said that Taylor Lewan, he said on the show that the Bills would have won had Taylor Lewan been on the team. I repeat, Chris Broussard said the Bills would have won if Taylor Lewan was healthy. Okay, first of all, Taylor Lewan plays for the Titans. The fact that he said that over the air is sickening. That is disorganization at its finest. I get I'm not the most organized person in the world, but I'm just going to say this. Know which teams are on which team. The fact that you said that Taylor Lewan was on the Bills and not the Titans is absolutely incorrect. And he also followed that up by getting his position wrong, because I believe Taylor Lewan, if I'm not mistaken, plays defensive end and whatnot. So, oh my goodness. Like, looking at Taylor Lewan, I'm like, wait a minute. This isn't right. And Taylor Lewan did get hurt, and I wish him the best going forward. And I hope he does get better and whatnot. So, yes, he does play tackle, but the fact that he got the teams mixed up is rather, oh my God, that's just dumb right there. That's not just dumb, it's just forgetful. And I understand that, but oh my good golly gracious, how can you mess that up? And then he also said that Dion Dawkins was a second or third stringer. It's like, dude, Dion Dawkins is one of the best tackles in the NFL, and he is a starter. Like, that's not just being dumb. That's being disorganized and dumb. It's like, come on, bro. I understand that Chris Broussard corrected himself, and the entire show said, oh, he meant to say this, he didn't mean to say that. It's like, but come on, dude. I don't understand. Like, how do you mess that up on live TV? It's almost as bad as when Stephen A. Smith thought that Hunter Henry was playing on Thursday Night Football against the Chiefs, and that, I think his name was Derek Henderson, was still playing for the Chargers and whatnot. That's just disorganization at its finest, and the lack of preparation just made me disgusted. It was almost too bad to be true. I had to look at the video and re-listen to it just so no one was being funny and whatnot. But for you, Chris Broussard, for saying that Taylor Lewan was on the Bills, and for calling Dion Dawkins a second stringer, and for being disorganized altogether, you are this week's Dumb Dumb of the Week Award, Part 2.
So dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
But wait, there's one more Dumb Dumb of the Week. And boy howdy, this goes to the NHL. And no offense to the Sharks or any Shark fans, but this guy takes the cake for Dumb Dumb of the Week award. I cannot believe what this guy did. And this isn't just dumb. It's illogical and just flat out incompetent. So, what had happened was this. Obviously, COVID is still going around, and COVID is still a thing, and COVID's not going away for a while, and hopefully COVID just goes away forever. But what happened with this NHL player on the San Jose Sharks was this. So Evander Kane is someone that most people know who he is already, whether it's currently right now or whether it's currently in the past or whatnot. But what Evander Kane did is what takes the cake for being the most dumbest of the week. Evander Kane, get this everybody, hold on, guys. Evander Kane got suspended for 21 games. They didn't get into a fight. It wasn't anything drug-related. But Evander Kane got suspended 21 games for submitting a fake COVID. I don't think it was a fake COVID test, but I think it was like a fake COVID identification card or whatever those things are. But you know what I mean. Like, he submitted a fake vaccination card. That's what it is. Evander Kane got suspended 21 games for submitting a fake vaccination card. Are we kidding me? It's like, again, that's not just dumb. It's really dumb. It's illogical. Why would you submit a fake vaccination card? I could understand other people doing it out of desperation, but a pro doing that? It's like, I don't get it. It makes zero sense. Like, I really don't understand why Evander Kane would do such a thing. Like, I'm surprised he got suspended 21 games. I'm surprised he doesn't have to pay a fine or something along those lines. I'm surprised he didn't get suspended more games. But my man Evander Kane, the fact that you submitted a fake COVID test with a fake vaccination card is absolutely despicable. It reminded me of that one time when I think some woman submitted a fake vaccination card and spelled Pfizer wrong. The fact that you did that when you're supposed to be an example for NHL players and an example for fans is absolutely disappointing. And for that, Mr. Evander Kane of the San Jose Sharks, you are this week's Dum Dum of the Week Award, Part 3. Get out of here with that stuff.
So dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
And that, my friends, is all she wrote. So that are this week's Dum Dum of the Week awards. And that is going to do it for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show this week. Thank you all for tuning in, whether it was on Twitter Spaces or whether it was live. Without any further delay, let's get on out of here. So I got to get me some lunch, and we've got a show most likely coming up later on. You dig? Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. I really do appreciate it. If you're listening live, I appreciate you. If you're listening on Twitter Spaces, I appreciate you. If you're listening at any time, any place, on the playback, I appreciate you. So without you, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, it's it. Once again, I appreciate everybody tuning in and showing some support for not only this show and iSports Radio as a whole. Without you, we are nothing. We are by the fans, for the fans. Thank you once again to the Southern California Warriors semi-pro football team for being the official sponsor of iSports Radio. We wish them the best of luck going forward because they have one more game left, but I imagine they'll have another one coming up. So we'll see what happens. For everyone here at iSports Radio, this is Teran Rodriguez signing off. You all have yourselves an amazing weekend. Be a good person. Check out all the Southern California sports that Southern California has to offer, not just in the professional scene, but college as well. Make good decisions. Otherwise, you will be on the Dum Dum list, and I will show no mercy. But anyway, other than that, you all have yourselves a great rest of the weekend. I will catch you all maybe this weekend for a live broadcast on our sister station. But I'll be back on Monday with Set Point. Have a great weekend, everybody. Remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!